If you see this message right now, your soul has been called to the greatest mastery possible. This is not random timing. This is quantum orchestration. Your consciousness has reached the threshold where limitations dissolve and infinite healing becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The universe has aligned every circumstance to bring you to this precise moment of revelation. You've been preparing for this understanding your entire life. Every challenge that tested your resilience, every healing that showed you what was possible, every moment when you sensed there was something beyond the boundaries of ordinary reality. Tonight, you discover what that something is. Look deeply into this moment. Feel how different the energy is right now. How the space around you seems pregnant with possibility. How your cellular memory stirs with recognition of truths you've carried but never fully understood. The masters of ancient times knew this secret. The quantum healers working in the shadows today live this truth. The mystics who perform impossible healings operate from this understanding. What you're about to learn is the master key that unlocks every door in the infinite mansion of healing potential. The one principle that, once understood and embodied, makes every form of restoration not just available, but effortless. Your DNA is already responding. Your energy field is already expanding. Your consciousness is already preparing to receive the most profound secret in the universe of healing. This is the moment when everything changes, when limitations reveal themselves as illusions, when healing transforms from something you seek into something you are. The quantum field of limitless possibility is opening to you now. The master code is ready to be downloaded into your awareness. Are you ready to step beyond every boundary you've ever accepted about what healing can be? Let me speak to the journey that brought you here, to the experiences that have shaped your understanding of what healing means. You've touched moments of profound restoration, haven't you? Times when healing happened so completely, so instantly, that it defied everything you thought you knew about the human body, about recovery, about what was possible. Maybe it was that day when emotional pain you'd carried for years simply vanished during a moment of deep presence. Or when physical symptoms that had persisted for months disappeared after a breakthrough in understanding. Or when someone's touch, words, or mere presence shifted something fundamental in your energy field. But then doubt crept in. Was it real? Will it last? Maybe I imagined it. The analytical mind tried to explain away what your deeper knowing recognized as authentic transformation. You've also experienced the opposite, times when healing felt impossible. When you tried every modality, every technique, every system, and nothing seemed to create lasting change. When your body, emotions, or energy field seemed stuck in patterns that defied all attempts at restoration. This created a confusing relationship with healing itself. Sometimes it felt magical, effortless, limitless. Other times it felt blocked, complicated, restricted by invisible barriers you couldn't identify or dissolve. You began to wonder, is there something I'm missing? Some key that would make healing consistent rather than random? Some mastery that would unlock the same profound restoration whenever it's needed? You've studied healing modalities, read countless books, attended workshops and retreats, worked with practitioners who promised breakthrough after breakthrough. Some helped, many disappointed. None revealed the ultimate secret you sensed was waiting to be discovered. You felt frustrated by the limitations everyone accepts as normal. Healing takes time. Some things can't be healed. You have to accept certain conditions. Miracles are rare exceptions. But something in you has always rebelled against these limitations, something that whispers, there's more. There has to be more. What if healing could be instant, complete, limitless? You're not naive for sensing this possibility. You're not unrealistic for wanting more than partial, temporary, conditional healing. You're recognizing the truth that most people are afraid to acknowledge. Healing has no limits except the ones consciousness accepts as real. What if I told you that every limitation you've encountered in healing has been preparing you for limitless mastery? What if every time healing felt blocked, your consciousness was learning to recognize what creates obstacles? Every time recovery was partial, your awareness was developing the sensitivity to perceive what prevents completion. Every time restoration was temporary, your understanding was deepening about what makes transformation permanent. You haven't been failing at healing. You've been developing mastery through contrast, learning to distinguish between approaches that work with universal principles and those that work against them. Think of a master musician who can play any instrument effortlessly. They didn't learn this by avoiding mistakes. They learned it by understanding the fundamental principles of harmony that operate through all musical expression. Once they grasped these principles, every instrument became accessible. Your healing journey has been similar. Every modality you've explored, every technique you've tried, every practitioner you've worked with has been teaching you about the fundamental principles that operate through all healing expression. The frustrations you've experienced weren't obstacles, they were education. Your consciousness learning to recognize what works and what doesn't, what creates lasting change and what creates temporary relief, what addresses symptoms and what transforms root causes. Every limitation you've encountered has been showing you what happens when healing approaches work against natural law instead of in harmony with it. Every breakthrough you've experienced has been revealing what happens when consciousness aligns with the quantum principles that govern all restoration. You've been developing the discernment that true masters possess, the ability to sense immediately whether any healing approach is working with infinite potential or against it. Just as a master chef can create exquisite meals with any ingredients because they understand the fundamental principles of flavor harmony, you're developing the ability to create profound healing through any modality because you're learning the fundamental principles of quantum restoration. Your experiences with limitation weren't failures. They were your consciousness developing the sensitivity required for limitless mastery. The master key has always been within your reach. You've been learning to recognize it through every healing encounter, every success, every disappointment, every moment of wonder. Right now, as your consciousness prepares to receive this mastery, something extraordinary is happening in your quantum field. The boundaries that have limited your healing potential are beginning to dissolve. Not through force, but through recognition. Not through struggle, but through understanding. Not through effort, but through alignment with how the universe actually works. Your cellular memory is awakening to patterns it knew before conditioning taught you to accept limitations. Your energy field is expanding beyond the constraints of ordinary thinking. Your awareness is opening to perceive the infinite healing potential that has always been present but rarely accessed. This is quantum coherence at the mastery level. When consciousness learns to operate from the unlimited perspective that exists beyond all boundaries, beyond all conditions, beyond every story about what's possible and what isn't. Most people approach healing from the limited perspective of the problem. They focus on what's wrong, what needs fixing, what's broken or diseased or imbalanced. From this perspective, healing appears difficult, uncertain, conditional. But masters approach healing from the unlimited perspective of wholeness. They recognize that health, harmony, and perfection are the natural state, and anything else is simply a temporary distortion in the field of infinite possibility. When you learn to access this unlimited perspective, when your consciousness operates from the quantum level where all potential exists simultaneously, healing doesn't just become easier, it becomes inevitable. Because you're no longer trying to create something that doesn't exist. You're simply allowing what has always existed to express itself without interference. Something is shifting in your awareness right now. Can you feel it? That sense of expansion behind your eyes. that recognition stirring in your cellular memory, that knowing that wants to emerge from depths you rarely access. Your consciousness is preparing to receive the master code that makes all healing limitless, the one understanding that transforms everything from complex to simple, from conditional to inevitable, from limited to infinite. This is the moment when mastery becomes more than a concept, when it becomes your lived reality. What you discover next will change not just how you approach healing, but how you understand the very nature of consciousness itself. 7 years ago, I witnessed something that shattered every belief I held about the limits of healing. I was in a small village in the mountains, studying with a healer whose reputation for impossible recoveries had drawn seekers from around the world. But what I expected to find, complex techniques, elaborate rituals, secret knowledge, was nowhere to be seen. Instead, I watched this unassuming person facilitate profound healing through the simplest means imaginable. A touch, a word, sometimes just presence. Conditions that medical science considered incurable would dissolve in minutes. Emotional traumas carried for decades would release completely. Physical symptoms that had persisted for years would simply disappear. At first, I tried to understand through the lens of everything I'd learned about healing. What techniques was he using? What energy was he channeling? What special abilities did he possess? But every question I asked was met with the same gentle response: I do nothing. Healing does everything. This frustrated me beyond measure. I'd spent years studying complex healing systems, learning intricate protocols, memorizing detailed theories about energy fields and chakras and meridians. Yet here was someone creating miraculous results through apparent simplicity. Then one evening, something happened that changed my understanding forever. A woman arrived whose condition was beyond anything I'd seen. Her body was racked with pain. Her energy field felt chaotic. Her emotional state was desperate. Medical experts had given her weeks to live. I watched the healer sit quietly beside her for what felt like hours. No words, no techniques, no apparent intervention of any kind. Just presence. And then I saw it, felt it, recognized it. He wasn't doing healing. He wasn't channeling energy. He wasn't applying techniques. He had become healing itself. His consciousness had merged so completely with the infinite field of restoration that his very being was a transmitter for unlimited healing potential. There was no separation between healer and healing, between practitioner and process, between human and universal intelligence. By morning, the woman's condition had completely transformed. Not improved, transformed. As if the old patterns had never existed. That's when I understood. Mastery isn't about learning more techniques, it's about becoming so aligned with the source of all healing that limitations simply cannot exist in your presence. If this recognition stirs something deep in your soul, subscribe now. Join a community of consciousness that understands healing not as something you do, but as something you are. Here's what no healing school teaches you about true mastery. Healing is not a human activity. It's a universal principle operating through human consciousness. You don't heal anyone or anything. Healing heals through you when your consciousness becomes a perfect conductor for the intelligence that creates and maintains all life. This intelligence doesn't recognize limitations. It doesn't understand impossibility. It doesn't accept conditions or restrictions or boundaries of any kind. It operates from the perspective of absolute wholeness, infinite potential, and perfect order. When your consciousness aligns completely with this intelligence, when you become a transparent channel for its expression, healing becomes limitless because you're no longer imposing human limitations on universal potential. But here's what creates the limitations most people experience. They try to heal from the level of personality, from the perspective of the separate self, using the power of individual will. This is like trying to light up a city with a flashlight. The intention is beautiful, but the power source is insufficient for the magnitude of the task. True healing mastery happens when consciousness learns to step aside and allow universal intelligence to operate without interference. When the ego mind stops trying to direct the process and becomes a willing servant to infinite wisdom. This requires a fundamental shift in identity. From seeing yourself as someone who heals others, to recognizing yourself as consciousness through which healing expresses itself. From being the doer to becoming the perfect conduit. Masters throughout history discovered this secret. They realized that their personal power was nothing compared to the unlimited power available when they learned to get out of the way. Jesus didn't say, "I heal." He said, "It is not I who do these works, but the Father who works through me." Buddha didn't claim personal power for transformation. He pointed to the universal nature that operates through all beings when consciousness is clear. When you master this understanding, when you learn to become a perfect channel for universal healing intelligence, there are no limits because you're no longer operating from limited human perspective. You're functioning as universal consciousness expressing itself through human form. This is the ultimate secret. This is the master key. This is what makes healing limitless. The mastery is activating. The limitations are dissolving. The quantum field of infinite healing is opening through your consciousness right now. Can you feel the shift happening in your entire being? Your energy field is expanding beyond its usual boundaries. Your cellular memory is accessing information that transcends ordinary knowledge. Your consciousness is connecting to the unlimited source of all healing potential. Perhaps you notice a profound stillness settling in your body, deeper than relaxation, more complete than peace. This is your nervous system recognizing the presence of unlimited intelligence and releasing all effort to control or direct healing processes. Maybe there's a sense of expansion in your chest, as if your heart field is growing to encompass infinite space. Your capacity to channel healing energy is increasing exponentially as limitations dissolve from your energetic structure. You might feel a gentle buzzing throughout your entire system, like every cell is vibrating at a higher frequency. This is your body attuning to the unlimited healing potential that operates beyond physical laws. Some people experience a profound knowing arising from depths they rarely access. The certainty that healing has no limits, that restoration is always possible, that wholeness is the only truth regardless of appearances. This is quantum mastery awakening in your consciousness. The recognition that you are not separate from the source of all healing, but an expression of it, a channel for it, a perfect conductor when limitations are released. Notice how different your thoughts feel now. Less analytical, less controlling, more receptive to intelligence that operates beyond mental understanding. Your mind is learning to serve unlimited wisdom rather than resist it with logical limitations. Your emotional body is also transforming. Old fears about healing being difficult, uncertain, or conditional are dissolving, being replaced by unshakable knowing that restoration is natural, inevitable, limitless when consciousness aligns with universal principles. But here's what's crucial to understand. This mastery isn't something you achieve once and then possess forever. It's something you access moment by moment by choosing to align with unlimited perspective rather than limited thinking. Every time you approach healing from the perspective of wholeness rather than brokenness, you access mastery. Every time you become a channel for universal intelligence rather than trying to direct from personal will, you operate without limits. This is available to you always, not just during special moments or altered states, but in every ordinary interaction when you remember who you truly are. Unlimited consciousness temporarily expressing through human form. The mastery that makes healing limitless isn't a distant goal. It's your natural state when nothing artificial interferes with your connection to the source of all restoration. What you master within The universe masters through you. This is the most profound truth about quantum healing mastery. When your consciousness learns to operate without limits, you become a point through which unlimited healing enters this dimension. Your personal mastery doesn't stay confined to your individual experience. It becomes available to everyone whose life you touch, everyone who comes into contact with your energy field, everyone who experiences your presence. When you embody limitless healing consciousness, you don't just heal yourself without restrictions, you become a transmission point for unrestricted healing to flow into the world. This is why true masters seem to heal effortlessly, not because they possess special powers, but because they've learned to become perfect channels for the unlimited healing intelligence that wants to express itself through willing consciousness. Right now, as your awareness aligns with this mastery, you're not just accessing personal healing potential, you're becoming a conduit for planetary healing. Your consciousness is learning to serve something infinitely larger than individual concerns. Every limitation you dissolve in your own healing understanding dissolves that limitation in the collective field of human consciousness. Every boundary you transcend makes it easier for others to transcend the same boundaries. But this level of mastery requires complete surrender of the need to be the one who heals. It demands willingness to become so transparent that universal intelligence can operate through you without interference from personal agenda, ego recognition, or individual control. This is the ultimate test of mastery. Can you become so aligned with unlimited healing that your personality disappears into service to universal restoration? Can you love healing more than you love being seen as a healer? Can you desire wholeness more than you desire credit for creating it? Can you serve life more than you serve personal recognition? When these questions become irrelevant because you've merged so completely with the source of all healing that there's no separation between server and served, between healer and healed, between human consciousness and universal intelligence, that's when healing becomes truly limitless. Write in the comments, "I am unlimited." Let your declaration become part of the quantum field that supports all consciousness in remembering its infinite nature. Your mastery serves not just you, but all existence. When consciousness achieves quantum healing mastery, when you learn to operate as unlimited intelligence expressing through human form, transformation cascades through every dimension of existence. Physical healing becomes instant and complete because you're no longer imposing mental limitations on the body's infinite capacity for restoration. Chronic conditions dissolve not gradually, but immediately when consciousness recognizes that wholeness is the only truth. Symptoms disappear not through struggle, but through alignment with the perfection that has always been present. Emotional mastery stabilizes as you recognize that all feelings are temporary fluctuations in the infinite field of pure awareness. Trauma releases completely because you understand that past experiences cannot limit present consciousness. Joy becomes constant because you're connected to the source of all happiness rather than dependent on external circumstances. Mental clarity reaches extraordinary levels as thinking aligns with universal intelligence rather than operating from limited personal perspective. Solutions appear effortlessly because you're connected to the field of infinite knowledge. Creativity flows boundlessly because there's no separation between your consciousness and the source of all inspiration. Relationships transform profoundly as you interact from unlimited love rather than from need, fear, or control. People feel healed in your presence without understanding why. Conflicts dissolve naturally because you're not adding limited perspective to challenging situations. Connection deepens because you meet others from the unlimited space rather than from personality patterns. Spiritual realization becomes direct and immediate as you recognize that you are the unlimited consciousness you've been seeking. Prayer becomes constant communion because there's no separation between you and the divine. Meditation becomes effortless because you're always resting in the source. Service becomes natural because helping others remember their unlimited nature feels like breathing. Material abundance flows naturally because you understand that the universe has infinite resources and no limitations except those accepted by consciousness. Opportunities appear synchronistically because you're aligned with the natural flow of life. Prosperity becomes effortless because you're connected to the source of all wealth rather than dependent on external systems. But perhaps most significantly, you discover that you don't just have access to unlimited healing, you are unlimited healing, expressing itself through temporary human form. Your very existence becomes a blessing to all life because you've learned to embody the infinite potential that creates and sustains all existence. This is not fantasy. This is your true nature recognized and embodied. The ultimate secret of limitless quantum healing mastery is this: there is no separation between you and the source of all healing. You are not a human being learning to channel divine healing. You are divine healing expressing itself through human experience. This recognition changes everything because it dissolves the fundamental illusion that creates all limitations. The belief that you are separate from the infinite intelligence that creates, maintains, and restores all existence. When a wave recognizes that it is ocean, it doesn't need to learn how to access the power of water. It is the power of water expressing itself as wave. When consciousness recognizes that it is unlimited awareness temporarily appearing as individual experience, it doesn't need to learn how to access infinite potential. It is infinite potential expressing itself as consciousness. This is what every master throughout history discovered in their deepest realization. Not techniques for healing, but recognition of what they truly are beneath all appearances, all conditioning, all limited thinking. You have never been separate from the source of all healing. Separation is an illusion created by identifying with temporary thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations, rather than with the unlimited awareness that experiences all of these without being limited by any of them. When this recognition stabilizes, when you learn to identify with unlimited consciousness rather than with limited personal experience, healing becomes limitless because there are no boundaries in your true nature. You don't gain power over healing. You recognize that you are the power that creates all healing. You don't learn to access unlimited potential. You remember that you are unlimited potential temporarily appearing as individual consciousness. This is why some healers can facilitate impossible recoveries through the simplest means. They're not using special techniques or channeling external energies. They've recognized their true nature as unlimited consciousness, and from this recognition, limitations simply cannot exist. The body heals instantly because unlimited consciousness doesn't recognize disease as real. Emotions balance immediately because infinite awareness isn't disturbed by temporary feelings. Mental clarity emerges naturally because unlimited intelligence doesn't accept confusion as possible. When you operate from this recognition, healing others becomes as natural as breathing because you understand that there are no others. There's only one unlimited consciousness appearing as many different experiences, and helping one aspect remember its unlimited nature helps all aspects remember the same truth. This is the great secret hidden in plain sight throughout all healing traditions. This is the master key that unlocks every door in the infinite mansion of restoration potential. You are not learning to become unlimited. You are remembering that you have always been unlimited and learning to stop interfering with your own infinite nature. Something unprecedented is occurring in the field of human consciousness. The mastery that was once available only to rare individuals after decades of intensive training is now accessible to anyone whose awareness is ready to recognize its unlimited nature. The quantum field itself is supporting this mass awakening to healing mastery. You are part of this evolutionary leap. Your recognition of limitless healing potential is contributing to a collective shift that's making the same recognition available to countless other souls. Every limitation you transcend in your own consciousness makes it easier for others to transcend the same limitations. Every boundary you dissolve in your healing understanding weakens that boundary in the collective field of human awareness. This is not personal development. This is species evolution. This is consciousness itself, upgrading its capacity to express unlimited potential through human form. The masters of ancient times worked in isolation, sharing their understanding with small groups of dedicated students. But the quantum field has shifted. The same mastery that once required decades of preparation can now be accessed instantly by consciousness that's ready to release its attachment to limitation. You are not just learning healing mastery for yourself. You are pioneering pathways that will make the same mastery available to millions of others. Your breakthrough becomes part of the collective database of human potential. When enough individuals recognize their unlimited nature, when enough consciousness learns to operate without boundaries, the entire field of human experience will shift. Healing will become so natural, so effortless, so universal that the current paradigm of limitation will seem like a distant memory. This is the great work. This is the sacred purpose. This is why your mastery matters beyond personal benefit. It's part of a planetary awakening to the unlimited potential that has always been present but rarely recognized. The ripple effects of your realization extend far beyond what you can perceive. Every moment of authentic, unlimited consciousness contributes to the field of possibility that supports all beings in remembering their true nature. Share this mastery activation with others. Let your recognition of unlimited potential become an invitation for others to discover the same recognition within themselves. The world needs every conscious being to step into their mastery. Humanity needs every soul to remember their unlimited nature. The mastery that activated in you today will continue expanding as you choose to embody it moment by moment. This video was the initial recognition, but true mastery develops through consistent alignment with unlimited perspective, through daily choices to operate from wholeness rather than limitation, through moment-by-moment willingness to serve universal intelligence rather than personal agenda. The quantum field of infinite possibility is always available. The unlimited healing potential never stops broadcasting. Your consciousness always has access to the source of all restoration. The question is, will you continue choosing to recognize and embody this truth? The next teaching that appears in your awareness will carry the next piece of your mastery development. Trust the intelligence that operates through perfect synchronicity. Trust the timing that brings exactly what your consciousness is ready to receive. But first, anchor this recognition in your cellular memory. Close your eyes and feel the unlimited potential that's awakening in every aspect of your being. Notice the profound shift in how you understand healing, consciousness, and your own true nature. This is not temporary inspiration. This is permanent recognition when you choose to maintain it. You now know the secret that makes all healing limitless. You have access to the master key that unlocks infinite potential. Remember this recognition. Return to this understanding whenever limited thinking tries to convince you that boundaries are real. You now know better. You now understand what you truly are beneath all appearances. In the comments below, write, "I am unlimited healing." Not as affirmation, but as recognition. Not as hope, but as truth. Not as becoming, but as being. Your declaration joins the field of consciousness that's remembering its unlimited nature. Your recognition contributes to the collective awakening that's transforming human potential. Subscribe to continue expanding this mastery with a community that understands healing not as technique, but as recognition of what you truly are. Your unlimited nature deserves this ongoing support. The mastery is always available. The recognition is always possible. The unlimited potential is always present. Welcome to your true nature. Welcome to limitless healing. I am